Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I welcome Mr. Kapil Mandawewala, and he will speak on the topic urban food security and maintaining food quality. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So today I'll be talking about urban food security and maintaining food quality as to what we eat every day. I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Kapil Mandawewala. I started my farming journey about 18 years ago. Prior to that, my experience was in finance, information systems, working in the consulting world. I started my journey at a family farm that we have in Gujarat, about 20 acres, where I first started growing some fruits and vegetables and grains and all, and creating a farm to fork directly selling system in the local town, and built that over 4 or 5 years. Then I moved to Delhi in 2014, and I started doing some workshops on urban farming and growing kitchen gardens in your balcony and rooftops. Through that, over time, we grew as an organization. Then Edible Roots, our company, was formed, which now works in the areas of kitchen gardens, farms, farmlets, which are mini farms that we provide to people on a monthly subscription. And then we also help design other people's farms using permaculture design and regenerative farming methods. So these are the different things that we do as an organization and my background over the past few years. Now, if you're talking about urban food security and in general about food quality in terms of what we eat, there are a few fundamental questions that we need to answer about the food that we eat. If we go back 50, 60 years, um, the food was mostly being grown around us in the nearby villages or in the same village, some vegetables in your own backyard or some place around you. So the food was very close to you and known to you. So the three fundamental questions I believe that are about our food is who is growing it, where, and how. If we know these three answers, then generally the food quality will be ensured because it will be known to us, and also food security because it will be very near to us and we can see what is happening and how it's happening. So if you go back again 50, 60 years, then these answers were known. The food was around us and being grown in a very local manner, being, wasn't traveling very far off distances like it does today. And that's why the food security and the food quality was much better at that time. So now in today's times, our food is on average traveling about 800 kilometers, which means that it's traveling for at least 2 or 3 days before it reaches us. So we don't know who is growing it where and by using what methods. And that's why the food quality, because we know that some chemicals are part of the food as well. Also, lot of uh, lot of pesticides, insecticides are also part of the system now. So,
Sir, we are not able to hear you, sir.
oh, okay.
Just check on your mic, sir. Suddenly your voice went down.
Okay, just 1 second. I'll just check.
No, no, I can't hear you.
I'm
Yeah, now I think it came.
Yeah, I think I have to
Yeah,
switch
yeah.
off.
Now it is fine. You can speak, sir.
Yeah, just give me one moment. I'm just fixing it. Yeah.
I'm able to hear you, sir, now. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Okay. Should I continue?
You can continue.
So now that because of this food traveling long distances and also uh, not knowing who, where, and how about our food is at the crux of the the food quality and the food security. So a simple way to address these things in our day-to-day lives is is to simply grow something around us. while we may not all have large spaces or luxury of gardens or backyards, but we all have some space around us, maybe a park, maybe a balcony, maybe a window where there is some sunlight. So we can start growing some leafy greens or a few vegetables which can grow well. So at least for those things now we are not dependent on an external parameter. So it not only that brings food security in a very small but very effective way, but at the same time also the food quality of that thing that you're growing is assured to you. And the other thing that can be easily done is to gradually find out where food is grown around you, even though you're in a city, but there's a lot of food being grown in cities and around cities, in the peripheral areas of a city. So you can grow food over there. I mean, the food is being grown over there that you can build connections with. There are a lot of times local markets that are weekly markets or daily markets where local farmers bring their produce to sell. A lot of it may not be organic, but at the same time, it's at least local. So you know how the food is being, where the food is coming from, and you know that there's a certain sense of connection with the person who has grown it. So all these things will make give a better sense of food security as well as food quality. Um, other than this, other than this, we can also build connections with farmers who are growing cereals, pulses, or various staples around us, and also bring that also into our day-to-day lifestyle by building a connection, by going to local markets, and not only ensuring food security but also the food quality, because now we know where it's coming from. Um, Other than that, I think uh, if we just try to better understand uh, the supply chain of the food that we are eating, uh, how it's traveled. Even if we have to buy it conventionally, the more we understand it, the more we understand the cycle that brings it to us. It will make this entire chain easier for us. Um, is there anything else you'd like me to add? I mean, this is sort of broadly the topic. I thought I'll sort of play more on questions. If there are any questions, I can answer them as well.
Yes, sir. Sir, you can speak for another 5-10 minutes. Few more details you can share. Then I will take up the questions.
Okay, okay, okay. Um,
Do you want me to take up the questions?
yes, please. Yes.
Okay. I'll move to the questions now, sir. The first question is, what are the biggest challenges affecting urban food security in India today?
The biggest challenges, I believe, is one that we are completely disconnected. As I mentioned earlier, the food is not closer to us, not known to us, but also the entire food system is very systemically controlled. You know, the dependence on fertilizers, the dependence on mass inputs, and most of which are getting imported. We already know how imports and various other things, the fuel cost, everything is impacting us now. So the dependence on a large systemic scale on external inputs is making it is I think one of the biggest challenge for us as a country. The more localized we can build the system, the more seasonally we can eat, the better it will be for us.
Okay. How can urban farming contribute to ensuring a stable supply of fresh and nutritious food in cities?
So urban farming is very, it'll be very contextual in terms of which city and which the town we are referring to. But essentially, a good example around the world is the country of Cuba and the city of Havana, the capital city of Cuba. They also went under a lot of restrictions and embargo during the Cold War, and they could not import the food. It was completely dependent upon importing their food, about 80-90% of it before that. So during that time, the country made a direct shift to use all the spaces they have within the city to grow food wherever they can, whether it's rooftops, any space on the ground lying vacant around the houses, around the buildings, along the roads. They were planting fruit trees. So this way they started growing, and even today they grow so much food within the city that it not only meets the needs of the city itself, but also some of the surrounding areas. So while urban farming and its context might seem very minuscule, it can have at least some direct impact in terms of making a dent, because when we start thinking about the amount of rooftops we have, or the amount of balconies we have, and the amount of ground space we have that is just lying vacant, catching heat and heating up of our buildings, and making our lives even more difficult in terms of temperatures and all, it can actually make that also easier. Plus, a lot of these spaces can be utilized if planned well, if thought out well, if supported by the system, by the government, then they can really make a big difference.
Okay. What role do organic and sustainable farming practices play in maintaining food quality?
So we all know how the food quality has gone down over the years. We hear a lot of it in the media. We see it around us also, how various kinds of chemicals, ripening agents, uh, shelf life increasing chemicals, pesticides, fungicides, all of these are being used, and they are being used very abrasively. There is no controls over it. While there might be some laws around it, but nothing is being monitored. But especially in India, the quality of food in terms of the usage of chemicals and tampering with it, because you're essentially tampering with it because uh, to increase the shelf life, or to ripen it quickly, or to help it reach from one place to the other so that it doesn't get spoiled during transport, or increase its weight. All of this is being done in a very uh, unabashed manner. So I think being aware of this is the first step, and then, as I mentioned earlier, start building connections with people around you who are growing. Best is, of course, if you have your own space, you try to grow as much as you can over there. But otherwise, build connections around your cities, around in the local farmer markets, wherever the mandis are happening, where the farmer directly comes to sell. That's the best way you can build some connection and some trust as to what you're eating. And this not only impacts your life, but in some ways, if the farmer feels supported, they also start knowing you. Maybe they'll start using better practices to manage their farms, maybe use lesser chemicals, and overall improve our food quality. And they're also, because the use of chemicals is also impacting their life, because when they are using them in their farms, it also affects their own health as well. So, so I think it's very essential. We also know how much diseases and the health effects that have happened over the last 2 3 decades because of all this usage of chemicals, and various autoimmune diseases and allergies. All of these are a side effect or an impact of the chemicals in our food system. Uh, so I think in that sense, if you're growing your own food, I think that's the first step you can take, where you don't use any chemicals, where you commit to not using it, trying to take whatever nature gives you, and even if it's not maximized, if it's still some giving you some harvest, but at least it's chemical free, then it's good for your body and your family.
Okay. How can consumers identify genuinely safe and high quality food products in urban markets?
What was the first you said? Genetically modified.
Pardon me, sir.
What can you repeat the question?
How can consumers identify genuinely safe and high quality food products in urban markets?
uh, Again, this is a very difficult task, because especially in India, the laws around labeling and certification are very loose. People can do whatever they want, uh, and the monitoring bodies, the certification bodies are also very laxed. So relying just on labels, I think, is not a good idea. I think the best way is to go slightly deeper, to try to find out where their product came from, whether it's something seasonal, was it grown in a responsible manner, and all this can only happen when you become part of the food chain in some sense, the supply chain. You become part of the person. You become known to the person, or you start building a relationship with the person who is providing it to you. If you're just buying off the shelves in a supermarket, or just ordering on Blinkit and Zomato, then it's very hard to know what that food has been through before it reached you. uh, so, and just by and the most the sort of tricky thing that is being done is that they make it look nice, appear nice, and so not something that is necessarily looking nice does not mean is actually chemical free or toxin free and healthy for you. I think the other thing you naturally develop once you start eating more healthier is that your taste buds tell you whether this food tastes right or something different. And I think just being more sensitive to it, being more present when you're consuming the food will also give your body will give you some indications as to whether that's suitable for your body or not, but also whether it's been tampered with or it has chemicals in it or not.
Okay. What are the major cause of food quality deterioration during transportation and storage?
Multiple things. One is the lack of a cold infrastructure. In India, I think we seriously still lack in the transport infrastructure, which is the proper, first of all, the proper cleaning and handling of the produce once it's harvested. Then, in terms of its storage, before it is transported, then during transport and after transport as well. So I think this entire one of the this whole supply chain being very inefficient and very old dated. It's not been upgraded to the modern times. So that really impacts it. The other thing that happens is also a lot of times because of this to make up for it. For example, if it's a papaya, most farmers would harvest the papaya while it's still almost raw, not fully ripe, and so that it can ripen along the way when it reaches the customer. So they almost harvest it raw. Because they harvest it raw, then they have to use chemicals like carbide to ripen it during the transport. So all these various practices happen. One, because the distances are larger, but secondly also the transportation and the storage facilities are not modernized. So because of that, the produce gets impacted, and also a lot of the chemicals and practices that are not healthy for us are used during this process.
Okay. Can rooftop gardening and community farming significantly support urban food security?
I totally believe so. If most of our work has been in Delhi, we have done about 3,000 rooftop gardens. I truly believe that if we really plan it well and utilize our spaces well, in a city like Delhi, even I would say that all the empty spaces that are lying around, if we use it to grow food, not only we can meet the needs of the city people, but there'll be surplus in which surrounding villages can also be fed. So there is definitely the space. There is definitely the resources available in terms of water or sunlight, and it's mainly an- a task of having the intent to do it and the skills and the desire to make that happen.
Okay. Sir, what technologies or innovations are currently improving food traceability and safety in urban areas?
Food traceability, I don't know. I haven't seen much, at least in India, like RFIDs and things like that. The best I see is there's usually a label, and that too mostly on packaged products, not on fresh produce, is where it mentions the place of packing or the place of manufacturing, and that's all about it. Uh, and I think in India that the traceability part is completely missing in terms of what's coming from where. And I think that is the biggest reason why the food security as well as the food quality is below par.
Okay. Sir, what technologies are I finished it. How can young entrepreneurs participate in the urban agriculture and healthy food sectors?
Which food sectors?
Healthy food sectors.
Healthy food sectors. Uh, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Urban farming, I feel, is still in an infancy. There is not a lot of demand for it. The awareness is there among people, but still not to the point where they will make the effort of doing it. There's a very small population who is keen on doing it. So I think that's a challenging area. But in terms of health and health and how the food is related to health, there's a lot of movement around that. You even see a lot of nowadays a lot of food chains and restaurant chains which are totally based upon healthy healthy meals like sprouts and various kinds of juices or which are basically natural and healthy. So I think that domain has, and nowadays I also see a lot of this fresh energy bars and a lot of different food items are coming around. In that sense, yes, there is a lot of opportunity. I think the urban farming scenario is has been slow to grow. We have been doing it for the last decade almost now, actually over a decade. So it's been a bit of a slow process. People are still waking up to it. People still don't see it as a necessity. There is also not much support from the government side in terms of subsidizing it or incentivizing it in some way or the other. So that's why it hasn't taken root. People still don't have that as a priority. I think the whole idea that the food is toxic as of now, the way it is in our system, while people know it and are aware of it, but I think still the reason to act upon it is not strong enough.
Okay. What pol what policies or government initiatives are needed to strengthen the urban food systems in India?
I think policy wise, there's a lot that can be done. I think there is not nothing has been done. In fact, as of now, if government just allows to use spaces that are lying vacant, uh, that are just not being utilized. Uh, Most of the parks in the cities are have become waste grounds and not being utilized as well. So some sort of support policies around how these spaces can be utilized, how government can encourage it, how societies can become part of it, how individuals can take it up. I think that will definitely help. Also, making terrace gardens or balcony gardens is usually a costly venture because it requires a lot of materials. If there can be some subsidies around that, some policies to incentivize that. Many years ago, I had heard in Kerala they are doing it where they give each house a kitchen garden kit so that every house can start a small kitchen garden on their own. So initiatives like this policy structure that which encourages people to use their space to grow food and become more self-reliant. So I think policy-wise, it's completely lacking. I don't think there is even a policy that exists at a national level around urban food or urban farming. Even Delhi, I many years ago, I was involved in some discussions of building a policy around this, but I think it never really took uh, the seed and it never really manifested. So, so policy is, I think, where the biggest challenge is, and that's what needs to be worked upon.
Okay. What measures can help reduce food wastage while maintaining nutritional quality?
Can you repeat that, please?
What measures can help reduce food wastage while maintaining nutritional quality?
There are many ways. Uh, Freezing, freeze drying, uh, or just drying, sun drying, or shade drying your produce can not only increase the, the shelf life and preservation capability of it. Of course, some nutritional loss will happen, but I think depending if you use the correct practice for the correct thing, then you can also maintain the nutritional density of the food at the same time increasing its preservation and shelf life as well. So many things can be done in terms of the most common ones being freezing or drying or freeze drying. These are the most common ones. Other ones are pickling and making some sort of a preservative like jams or pickles. So there are many different ways that this can be done.
Okay. How can farmers and urban consumers be connected more directly to improve both quality and profitability?
I think this is again where some policy and some government support can come into play. If we can create uh, local markets, markets in different parts of a city where local farmers come every week or maybe multiple times a week and to sell their produce. It's promoted, it's advertised, and people come and become part of that network. So through this interconnection between the farmers and the urban consumers, by bringing it in an urban context, will definitely help improve both the food security and as well as the food quality. Also, it will improve the livelihoods of farmers and their living standards.
Okay. Sir, in your experience, what common misconceptions do people have about organic and sustainable food system?
Um, I would not say they're all misconceptions, but some of the beliefs that people have, that one is that organic is usually very expensive. Uh, Around sustainable, sometimes it feels that it's just sort of greenwashing. It's not, in reality, there is not much substance to it, that it's not really required. Uh, so I think lot of misinformation that's floating around in the media. Yes, organic food is generally costlier than conventional food because it is not grown using subsidized chemical fertilizers. It is also grown without chemicals, so yields are generally lower. It is grown without pesticides, so there is usually more pest damage, so the yields are lower. So by definition, the food will tend to be more costlier than the conventional one, but it does not necessarily have to be very expensive. It is not beyond the means, especially now over the last 2, 3 decades, the Indian living standards have improved, the incomes, the family incomes have improved, and I think people and food, which earlier used to be a large part of a family income, is not as much now. So you can spend a slightly higher amount on better quality produce, which is organically grown. And the main reason being that the organic food and the process of growing the organic food is not subsidized, unlike the chemical food system.
Okay. Sir, what inspired you to start edible routes and enter the sustainable food sector?
So I was studying in the US, and I was working there with Deloitte in consulting. Uh, what happened after 2, 3 years of working in the corporate world, I started realizing that this is something which I can't do for the rest of my life. So that got me thinking as to what would I want to do. And over some introspection, I realized that food, health, is sort of where my passion lied, where my interest lied. And somebody suggested to me at that time that farming is sort of where it's all broken. The farming is broken because of which the food and health is also broken. So luckily, my family had some land in Gujarat. So I took the leap that I'll start the farming there first, understand the intricacies. We did not know about farming. My family was not actively involved in the farming process. So it started from there, and then as I started doing the farming and I came to Delhi to do workshops, gradually I started getting deeper into it, and that's sort of how Edible Root was formed. It was not a conscious thought from the very beginning. It evolved over the years as I got deeper into this whole farming journey.
Sir, what are the major challenges in promoting sustainable and organic food systems in India?
I think one is a general lack of awareness. I think that's where again the discussion we had earlier around policy and then all, some sort of government support to create awareness in people around eating healthy and eating sustainably, organically is important. The general impact of chemical food, how it is impacting us is also still very limited. So I think one, it boils down to the awareness, and second, I think is also somewhere the cultural mindset is still not ready for it. The people are still thinking that it's okay. It's just a lot of uh, media misinformation that this the food is not good for you. But as you get deeper into it, or if somebody has faced any health challenges or um, any sort of life-threatening diseases in their family, then that's when they start realizing and they start taking action in their lives. Most of our clients come from families who have either young children or who have had a seriously ill member in their family, so which drives them to make these choices. So I think the more personal it becomes, the more people realize that it has a direct impact on their health and their family. I think people will automatically make organic and sustainable choices.
Yes, sir. Sir, how do you work with farmers to ensure consistent food quality and sustainability?
Um, we work with them in many ways. One is to uh, understand how they are growing and how they can implement better ways in terms of not only growing the produce but also the post-harvest handling of it, like how the produce is harvested, how it is kept after harvesting, how is it cleaned, sorting of it, storage of it. All of those processes if done better, the produce reaches in a better quality to the end consumer as well. So working not only on the organically growing process and working in a ways where the cost is lower but more effective in the long run for the farming activities, but also the post farming, post harvest activities as well, so that there's minimal wastage, the quality is better, and the produce is more nutritious.
Sir, how can urban communities become more involved in sustainable food production?
Um, become I think we have somewhat touched upon this, is that use their spaces, just start small, start with one pot in your balcony or a few uh, microgreen trays in your windowsill, or if you have a terrace, then start with a few pots and start growing some of your leafy greens or one or two vegetables. That's the first step. That's the very important, because once you take that first step, then you gradually start transforming your life and your family's life. You'll automatically start knowing more about where local food is available, where the local markets are. You'll start learning about how to grow food. You'll become more in tune with the seasons. You'll start understanding eating seasonal food, what season is what, and also understanding that if you're eating something non-seasonal, then that also means that it has probably grown with a lot more chemicals and it's not good for you. So I think taking that first step, utilizing whatever space you have, uh, and even if it's just one or two pots, then start. And because once you start that journey, then you can automatically start progressing on it as well.
Okay. What message would you like to give students and future professionals about building a sustainable food future?
I think one of my favorite quotes from one of the farmers in the US I learned from. I read a lot of his books and all. Is the most of the people are under the delusion that somebody else will ensure that the food will be put on their table, and that too grown very organically and healthily and given to them. So this could be dependence upon governments or other companies, but that's a delusion. It never really happens. So my message would be to everybody that become aware that your food, the food that you're putting in your own bodies, is your responsibility and your responsibility only. Yes, of course, you have to rely on other parties to grow it for you and bring it to you. But at the end of the day, that food is going inside your body. So start taking ownership of it, uh, learn about it, ask the primary questions about food: who is growing it, where is it being grown, how is it being grown. When you start asking those questions, when you start understanding that food, whether it's good for you or not, and whether it's been grown healthily or not, is your responsibility to find out. When you start making that choices, when you build that awareness, then automatically you will make better choices, and those choices will eventually lead to better ways of food growing, because the system will change because you have changed.
Thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we would like to thank Mr. Kapil Mandawewala for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir.